Thanks for having me.
You are one of the closest women to President Trump, a trusted confidant, a proud Jewish woman, and a strong supporter of Israel. That combination makes you a particularly fascinating figure, especially at a time when it seems the president is shifting toward a more isolationist approach, one that could leave Israel to fight this war alone.
I'll be honest, I actually very highly disagree with that. I have known President Trump for quite some time, but I've also worked for him even longer than that. I was one of the people that was there from the very start and one of the few who stuck around to the, I don't want to say very end because we're not there yet, but until this point. And the fact is, he's one of the only people in American politics that I've ever seen to stick to his word on anything, and especially to stick to his word when it comes to his policy towards Israel. I can tell you I have faced a lot of attacks for supporting him, especially amongst the Jewish community. A lot of it's gotten better these days, but I was called every name in the book back in 2016 for standing with him, not only as a proud American, but as a proud Jew, because I believed he would be the best person for the Jewish people. And so to abandon Israel in any way, shape, or form is not an option for him. It might look different right now than what people expected, but he knows that a safe Israel also means a safe America, and I am confident that that is not going to change.
So I want to talk about the Washington Post report that I think shocked many in Israel. At least according to the paper, President Trump sent a message to Prime Minister Netanyahu suggesting that if Israel does not end the war, the U.S. might walk away. Is there real frustration within your camp over Israel's handling the hostage deal, as some reports have suggested?
Well, look, I can't speak for President Trump. I can't even speak for the administration. What I can tell you is I have heard no truth to the reports that there are any issues between the Prime Minister of Israel and Donald Trump. I spent a lot of time with him one-on-one actually discussing this situation. I was with him on October 7th, for example, on the anniversary of the attacks. We spent a long time talking about Eitan Alexander after we spent a few hours with his family. We spent a long time talking about everything that happened on October 7th, how many people were killed and in what gruesome ways. He sat with me and he promised Eitan Alexander's parents, and he promised so many of us that this means something to him. If he says what he says out there, it might be a way to channel some kind of message to Israel or even to Hamas. You never know.
I think the tension is also reflected in the president's recent trip to the region without a stop here in Israel. Can you understand why he would want to make that choice?
The fact is, we don't know why he didn't visit Israel. We don't know if that was strategic. We don't know if that helped Eitan Alexander get home. We don't know if that's going to help in the future when it comes to weakening Iran and making sure that America and Israel is safe from that threat. We actually don't know why Donald Trump ever does what he does, because we can't always be privy to those secrets and those decisions. But the fact is, all we can look at is the actions. All we can look at is what is actually delivered. And when Donald Trump is in the White House, unlike anyone else, he delivers.
You mentioned Eitan Alexander. Eitan Alexander is an Israeli, but he's also an American. And I think that's why the president worked really, really hard to get him home. And he did. You said so. But I think perhaps the most surprising development is the reported deal that is upcoming, where it seems, at least, with Iran, the head of the snake, as we call it. I don't think there's a single Israeli who believed Trump, of all people, would push for an Obama-style agreement with Tehran, especially at a moment when Israel cannot afford to miss a historic opportunity for long-term regional stability. It sounds very different from how Trump used to talk about Iran. What changed?
I will tell you absolutely nothing has changed, and the way he talks about Iran also has not changed. Senator Rubio has always agreed with him, none other than Pete Hegseth has always agreed with him. I have full confidence in this administration, and the fact is I have confidence because I have seen all of these individuals pledge to the United States of America we would never have an Obama-style deal with Iran, and that the United States of America and Israel would always be safe from that threat. The fact is we have an administration in power, finally, that wants to bring peace to the world and knows, unlike those that came before them, let's just say without naming names, that Iran is our enemy, is Israel's enemy, and is the enemy to anyone that wants peace in the region and in the Western world.
So you think that there is no way that this administration will sign a deal with Iran in the end?
I think it would depend what's in the deal. I think it would depend on what ends up happening. I think if anyone has said that Iran needs to be eliminated in one way or another, without obviously hoping for a war, but eliminated at least when it comes to being drained of their resources, it is Donald Trump. So I am fully confident that would not change because Donald Trump's views on everything remain the same. His promises remain the same. And I am confident that everyone in this administration has the exact same viewpoint on Iran.
We could only wish for a secret plan that will make sense later on. As for Gaza, Trump promised hell to pay if the hostages weren't returned. So far, the ones living through hell are unfortunately the hostages themselves. Then came the so-called Riviera solution. Should we already consider it another idea that's been shelved?
The fact is, when President Trump promised hell to pay, he also left it up to Prime Minister Netanyahu, right? You guys have a duly elected leader, a democratically elected leader. And the fact is, Donald Trump can't make decisions for Israel if Israel wants to make different decisions. He said that, and he knew that if Bibi needed his backing, he would have it, and there should be hell to pay. Donald Trump says that very, very often. Like I said, his views do not change. I have discussed with him what's gone on in Gaza. I've discussed with him what's gone on with these hostages, and we've heard it ourselves. I remember when Eli Sharabi came out, how broken Donald Trump seemed, how angry he seemed when he when he spoke, for example, about how the images coming out of Gaza that day reminded him of the images he had seen of the Holocaust. This is how angry Donald Trump is about what's going on there. But Donald Trump is not the leader of Israel. He's the leader of the United States of America. And I think with those words, he showed Bibi and everyone listening that Israel would have their backing if they wanted all hell to break loose. In that moment in time, they did not. That's their decision, obviously. But America has to follow suit, but also do what we think is best for American citizens. Like you said, Idon Alexander is out because, of course, he's also a dual citizen of the United States of America. But I've never seen Donald Trump say anything regarding the hostages coming out that are American and not that are Israeli, for example. He wants the hostages home. All the hostages home. We've talked about it for months now, and I'm sure if he could work with Bibi to get them out, that's exactly what he will do. And I do not see that changing. I don't want people to think that because the news continues in the cycle that it does, because the war seems to be never ending, that any of the views of the administration of the United States have changed, because they have not.
President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu have had their ups and downs, but when the president pushed his chair, it felt like the relationship was kind of back on track. Now we hear reports that Trump is even considering inviting former Prime Minister Bennett to the White House. And as insiders know, that would deeply, deeply anger Prime Minister Netanyahu. Where is this all heading?
I don't think many have been as close, actually, as him and Bibi. They've also, like you said, had their ups and downs, because serious people in positions of power tend to have their ups and downs. Things tend to get very, very difficult, especially when we're talking about what's going on in the Middle East, right? I mean, who has had the last decade like Israel has? Not a lot of folks. So obviously Bibi and President Trump have a lot to discuss, and a lot of that may come with disagreements. I am very confident in their relationship because I'm confident in Donald Trump's relationship with any foreign leader. So I cannot speak to rumors or reports. Donald Trump wants an end to the war and the hostages to come home, regardless of who is the leader of the state of Israel.
So are we right now in the up or in the down? That I'm still trying to figure out.
I'm going to hope we're in the up. That's the only way to get through life as a Jew, right? To hope that you're continuing in the up.
Amen to that. Elisabeth, you once said we need our first female president and our first Jewish president. Why not combine the two? I like that sentence. So what year are we aiming for?
I don't know. 2032 was a great year. 2036 could be interesting. I will certainly keep you posted on that one.
Please do. Please do. 2032. Elisabeth, thank you so much for this interview, and good luck in 2032.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.